Hi, I'm Lippy.
And I'm Grumpy. Together we're Lippy and Grumpy do podcasting.
In this episode, the Brenner Cycle, 3D food printing, human arrows, and vending machines.
Now, Lippy.
Hello.
We were a bit, I'm not sure what the word is.
Burnt out.
No, that's not what I was going to say.
Oh.
No, we were bamboozled by Virgin Media last week.
Oh, we were, weren't we?
Yes, we were ready to go, and you sent me a message saying, I can't log on. And
That was what happened last week.
Mr. Branson and his pals messing around with patch panels or something of the like. So I do apologise for no Lippy and Grumpy last week. We just ran out of time with various other bits and pieces during the week. Tinternet went Pete Tong. Anyway, I had a message from the Screaming Tomato about Spotify. So the last episode we were talking about artificial intelligence in Spotify.
Yes.
And I said, what I'd really like is something that shows me new music. And Screaming Tomato quite rightly says, well, it's got it already. And there is buried somewhere in the library is an option to look at new music that it thinks you will like. I've not tried it yet, but what I have tried is we had some friends over for dinner a few weeks ago. And I know Paul's very, very fond of 1970s disco funk type music. So
I thought you were going to say.
So I thought, I'll do a little Spotify list even, because Wife of Grumpy quite likes the same sort of music as well. So I did that, and then I spotted this option that said, add some more tracks that we think you'd like. So I did that, and it did add some tracks from albums that I'd already picked a track from, if that makes sense. But there were some completely random ones on there, and they were brilliant.
Oh,
so
good.
That works really well. I'm very protective over my favourites playlist,
yes.
And I won't be doing that on there. But if it's a something else playlist, then what a great addition.
Stick it on in.
Absolutely.
Stick it on in.
And the other thing we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was first aid kits.
We did, which I have got new additions to as well.
We'll have an update in a minute. So I had a message from Orange Marshal 2, who's not an Orange Marshal anymore, and we definitely need a more snappy name. And he suggested, because he's ex-St John Ambulance, he's the man in the know.
He is.
He said a few ice packs and some burn kits. Very good.
Yeah.
And medical tape if the gauze pads aren't sticky.
They are sticky, but I mean, medical tape would work as well.
Medical tape's worth having, because if you get somebody like me that nothing sticks to, then you need gaffer tape really. But medical tape is, a little reel of it is well worth having.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And we also had something from Davros as well. Yeah, so Davros said, I'm thinking MASH, as in Military Army Surgical Hospital, which does seem a little over the top.
It's probably a bit dramatic.
But that's fairly typical from Davros. He also mentioned about the Tesco advert that I found rather scary. And Wife of Davros is of the same opinion. And we were out a few weeks ago with some other friends, and one of them was saying that Gen Zs apparently listen to podcasts at 1.5 times normal speed.
Yeah.
And he tried it, and he said it produces an odd echo.
I, as a millennial, listen to voice notes sometimes at 1.5 speed, but only when I know the person that sent it to me talks slowly. It's too much otherwise. If I know they talk slowly, I'll speed it up a little bit because I know I can still understand. But I accidentally was listening to them on 2 speed for ages, and I had to listen to it's counterproductive because I had to listen to it 4 times just to pick up what they were saying before I realised I'd clicked the speed up button.
Some people do that on answer phone messages at normal speed. They'll mumble the phone number and then you have to go backwards and forwards, and I get quite annoyed.
Yes.
Quite annoyed. Talking of voice notes, Wife of Grumpy did her first voice note yesterday.
Oh, how did that go?
It was a bit painful, but we got there at the end.
Love it.
Mostly because she was trying to attempt to ring the person she was sending the voice note to via WhatsApp rather than...
Oh, God.
Yeah.
God.
we got there in the end.
Well done.
Now, I've pretty much forgotten what we had on the list for this week, so we're going to have to blunder our way through it a bit. Something I found really interesting, I love this sort of stuff, is a thing called... it's not called anything, actually. It was produced in the 1800s by a chap called Samuel Benner. And, it's the Brenner Cycle, it's called. Of course it is, Brenner Cycle. And what this is, it's a single card. And on that card, there's a very uniform set of triangles with dates top and bottom. And what it's doing is predicting when we'll have good times and bad times. And the idea is that you, in hard times with low prices, it's a good time to buy stocks, corner lots, goods, etc., and hold until the boom reaches the good times some years later, and then you sell them.
Yes.
So it could be stocks, it could be arguably
a
cryptocurrency, it could be a house. Yes, that sort of thing. And a house is
if you already have a few millions.
Yes, absolutely. What is really interesting is the years in which panics have occurred and will occur again. So we've got 1999, which was a bit of a panic because of the millennium. So there was a bit of 2019. Oh, what happened then?
Oh.
Yes, indeed. And then hard times, it's got us 2023, which we're obviously experienced due to a number of factors, is not
I would
brilliant.
agree.
So what this is saying is that the next year of good times, which is the time to start selling stuff, is 2026.
Okay, so we're on our way back up.
On our way back up again.
Over the next 3 years.
Now, bearing in mind, this guy put this together in 1875. And when you look at the dates, they're pretty much bang on. So you've got 1942, as the Second World War was really kicking off, bad time. 1945 is got down as a good time. Arguably the war finished and things did pick up, albeit slowly. So there's a number of different dates in there. 81, which was a recession, just as I started working. The two are not linked. to add. And this carries on until the 2059, which is the last of the hard time dates. So if you search
Probably not the last of the hard times.
No, but it's when the graph runs out, or maybe he knows something that we don't.
Yes.
But it's a really interesting card, and I'll do a little bit more research on the dates, actually, while you're away, just to see if it ties in with other dates. Some of them do look familiar. 1931, I think.
So it would be good to move house in 2026? Is that what we're saying?
Well, there's the oddity, because with house markets, or if you're buying your first house, it makes sense to do it when the prices are low. But actually, when you've got a house, does it make that much difference? Because yours has come down. Possibly the price or the gap between your house and the house you buy might reduce slightly in bad times. But I don't know.
But it would all come down together. Like the price of my house and the price of the next house would both come down or both go up.
They should do, but whether the gap between them increases or decreases slightly, I don't know. I've only bought houses either in the middle of a recession or a peak, because the first time I didn't really understand things like that. And the day after I bought it, it started dropping in price, which was a bit of a disappointment. Yes.
See, I feel we bought a house at a cracking time.
Yeah.
We bought it just before you couldn't buy a house because everything was either too expensive or there were like 10 people bidding on the same thing. We smashed it.
Yes,
by accident.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Unconsciously smashed it.
Often it is. And it's the same with my mum's house we sold last year. We dropped the price a little bit, but if we'd been selling it now, we would have had to drop it quite a lot more. So, and it is pure luck, because sometimes you have to sell or you have to buy, and you're stuck with the market forces at the time. But if you do have a choice, the Brenner Cycle is well worth a look at. For stocks and shares, there's something called an Elliott wave, which is a pattern you'll see in prices for all sorts of stuff. And then there's Elliott waves within Elliott waves. So you can get a bit over analytical about this stuff, but it is quite interesting, I find.
I don't know why, when you just said Elliot Waves, my mind went to a man waving. And then when you said Elliot Waves in Elliot Waves, it was a man. It was the same man wearing a T-shirt of himself waving, wearing a T-shirt of himself waving. You know, like...
Yes, I think, yeah. When you get two mirrors opposite one another, you get that infinite reflection. Yeah, that would make a good cartoon if anybody actually understood Elliot Wave.
There's been I can't remember who I think one of them was Ryan Gosling, and I can't remember who the other actor was, but it was an actor wearing a T-shirt of Ryan Gosling, and there was a picture. So then Ryan Gosling got that picture printed on a T-shirt and wore that T-shirt. Someone was wearing a T-shirt of a guy wearing a T-shirt of him. Yeah. It was really funny.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those with different actors. It's very funny. Now, I'm quite a big fan of 3D printing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, not that I've owned one, but I think I like the idea of it. And the advances with it in terms of being able to 3D print metal objects is astonishing. And I was amazed to find there was actually a food 3D printer available.
As in, like, you could eat it?
Yes.
No.
Yes. I mean, it's fairly limited and it's cheesecake, but you have cartridges of paste.
I would be more than happy with a cheesecake printer.
Yes. And having watched The Orville, which I've mentioned a couple of times on here, where they don't grow food anymore, they just synthesize it. So you can have whatever you like, absolutely anything from across the whole of the universe you can synthesize, which would be an amazing thing to have. However, this is, so it takes paste. So it's similar to a plastic one, which has got rods in it. And presumably it adds some water to it. And they can print, so it's not just cake. We can print chicken, beef, vegetables and cheese, anything that can be turned into a paste, liquid or powder.
Oh, my mind has been blown. It's the meat. That's weird. You can't print meat.
Well, no, but you can turn it into a paste. That's the thing.
Oh, okay. So it's not a case of like if we ran out of chickens, we could just keep printing chicken breasts. No. You need a chicken still to be able to make the paste to then put in the printer. Got you. Okay. I was really blown away for a second then that you could instead of raising chickens, we just print chicken for the rest of our lives.
Well, you could probably print something that tastes like chicken, but that's not
like
ideal.
A vegan chicken nugget.
That sort of thing, which, not brilliant, to be honest.
Not my favourite.
But really, where I see this going is if you look at a disaster zone where you trouble getting food through, if these things are quick enough, and that is the key to this, if they're quick enough to print a whole meal really quickly, then it's ideal because you haven't got to transport fresh food.
Loads and loads of food.
Yeah, and you can put it in big old cases you can drop from a helicopter. And as long as you've got power, which obviously generators will provide power, then you could produce food on site, which has got to be a good thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know how far we are away from that. Oh, it's saying the cheesecake took 30 minutes to squirt out. So
that's quite a long time.
It's quite a long while, but it's early days. You look at the advances we've made with water filtration. And as a Lions Club, we've bought this unit called a pool unit, which they drop into disaster zones, and then they can feed it with really grotty water and fresh water comes out. No electricity needed. That's been superseded essentially by jerry can. So you fill the jerry can up, and as you tip the water out of the jerry can, it's filtered. Yeah, and that's a much easier solution to use because you haven't, if you've got multiple water sources, then you haven't got to drop one of these big pool units by each water source. So stuff moves on. So in a couple of years' time, we might be talking about
a full roast dinner.
Yeah, do it in the kitchen.
20 seconds.
Yeah, 20 seconds, whatever you want.
Snap fingers, done.
Not going to do much for obesity, though.
No, true. Unless it's not real sugar in them.
Well, yeah, but there's if it's sweet, it's the same thing with saccharin, isn't it? Although it hasn't got calories in it, it does fool the body into thinking it's having something sweet and could cause chaos. So I'm not sure that's brilliant. So if you could 3D print any food, what would you do?
Oh my God, that's the biggest... I think that is probably the biggest question anyone's ever asked me, and I've been asked if I wanted to get married.
Yes, that's very true.
I actually don't. It's too many.
Too many?
I would print a lasagna. I love a lasagna.
Interesting.
Like a good lasagna.
Yeah.
Or a macaroni cheese.
Oh, that's a good call, actually.
With like little bacon bits in.
And that's probably doable as well, actually, macaroni
Yeah,
cheese.
it's very saucy.
Yeah.
Or I would pick a cheesecake, to be honest. I love a cheesecake. I'd be happy with a cheesecake. I had a great cheesecake on Sunday night, I want to say. A banoffee cheesecake.
Ooh.
And it proved my theory about bananas.
Which theory is that?
Well, that they taste different in different formats. So if you bite a whole banana, it tastes different to eating a slice of banana.
Oh, yes. Yes, I
It
remember
does,
this
though.
now.
It does. And I had a bit of sliced banana and I was like, it does taste different. And Duck Boy agreed with me that it tasted different.
I wonder why.
Because it's slimier. It's the
I suppose
texture.
the action of biting through it makes it a bit mushy.
And I think the outside of a banana is a bit furrier. And then the inside's slimy. So if you take a bite, you're not really getting any of this, only a tiny bit of the slimy bit in the middle.
Yeah.
Because the bit that's on your taste buds is this fluffy bit. But if it's sliced, there's all the slime and no fluff.
I think you might have a point.
Thank you.
But it does feel a little bit like your dry rain theory.
Which is also a proven theory, so...
I mean, maybe. Anyway, if you would like a 3D printed meal, or you have your ideal meal that would come out of a printer, let us know. I wonder if it could print cider.
You're not really... Can you print a liquid? Surely it has to be solid.
Well, I would imagine there has to be some liquid injected into it.
It would just
Or maybe
be in
not,
a
I don't
can,
know.
though, wouldn't it? Because you can't compress a liquid down into a smaller amount. Whereas, like,
Correct.
the paste of the food would be compressed
Yeah.
into the paste and then create a larger amount of it through the paste and adding water, maybe. But liquid is the same volume regardless. Oh my God, I used my brain there.
You did a bit. Mine sort of overloaded then, so... Now, we had our Good Friday Easter egg hunt in the village, as usual, which was a beautiful day, unlike now where it's
Glorious.
pouring with rain. It was glorious. And lots of chocolate-fueled children, and a good time was had by all. Back in 2017, there was a similar Easter egg hunt in Surrey, and the police were looking for some villains and came across a field, and there was some kids in the field as part of this Easter egg hunt, and all of a sudden they lay down on the ground in the shape of an arrow, pointing to where the fugitive had just
Hiding.
run off to. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Why
and
didn't they just point?
well, the helicopter was quite high, so if they all stood there and pointed, you wouldn't see it. But by
I
laying
see.
down in the shape of an arrow,
How
it is
clever.
absolute genius. And the police caught it's two individuals. They caught the villains, and they're now banged up.
Well done, kids.
Yeah, very, very smart.
Very impressive.
One to keep in the back of your mind if you ever see a police helicopter and you know where the villain is.
Yeah.
And there's more than one of you. Obviously, one of you trying to do an arrow is going to be quite hard. Not impossible,
They're just going
but
to be
quite
like,
hard.
that kid okay?
Yeah, it's what you don't want is the air ambulance then landing because they think you've had
You passed out in the field.
something's got a bit wrong.
Funny.
Now, ever since a child, I've had a fascination about penguin books, and I've owned many penguin books, and I love them, and I love the whole concept of them. And I was really pleased to see that in Exeter St David's train station, they've installed a Penguin Books vending machine.
Love it.
So if you
That's
don't have
cute.
a book, and it goes back to the origin. So it was Alan Lane who created Penguin, and he couldn't find a book to read, and a good book to read, and he created Penguin, which was absolutely brilliant and has served the well, all of us really well over the years. So really pleased to see that.
That's cool.
On the flip side of that, the Japanese now have a bear meat vending machine.
Oh.
So locally sourced bear is available from a vending machine.
As in like beef jerky, but from a bear, or like raw?
Yeah, I think it's
go
steaks.
home and cook it.
Yeah, go home and cook it. Steaks.
That's cool.
Or chunks of bear. So you're planning a Japanese trip next year.
We are, yes. It's basically booked.
So we expect photos.
Yes. I may not participate in the actual eating of the bear meat, but I shall take a photo.
No, you don't need to eat it or even buy it. Just a photo of the vending machine will be enough.
I shall.
Now, when you look on the internet, you'll find many, many daft questions.
Yes.
In
Mostly
fact,
put there by us.
Yes, I would say it's probably more daft questions than sensible ones. So I found this one, which goes along these lines. If kinetic energy is converted into thermal energy, which has sort of lost me already, to be honest, but the rest of it...
I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, well, that's because you've read the rest of it. How hard do I have to slap a chicken to cook it? Which is possibly the most random question I've ever come across.
I would say pretty hard.
I would have said pretty hard, but Parker Ormond has replied with a formula. And he has worked out that it would take 23,034 slaps to cook a chicken.
And would those slaps have to be even around the chicken or in the same place?
That's a very good question. He doesn't mention that. I shall hunt him down and ask him.
I feel like it would have to be in the same place for that area to heat it up enough to cook.
I would have said it was all over, because otherwise you'd have one area that was quite heavily cooked.
Yeah. Also, though, that's just why? You're going to get chicken juice everywhere.
Well, it's going to get messy, isn't it? I don't know how long it would take you to do that. That could be another question. He has actually worked out if you slap the chicken at a speed of 3,725.95 miles per hour, very precise numbers here,
yes,
then you can cook the chicken in one slap. I would imagine it would destroy it.
Yeah.
That's the ending, because that's quite fast.
It would rip through it. It'd be shredded
You would have
chicken.
thought so. If you hit something at nearly 4,000 miles an hour, it's going to atomise it, surely.
Yeah.
Now, you sent a message round a little while back about this UK wide mobile phone alerting malarkey
system, yes,
that's going on a week on Sunday.
The day after my wedding.
Day after your wedding. Again, a coincidence.
Yes. Coincidence. Luckily the day after, although I don't think it would have made much difference if it had been on the day.
Well, I'm assuming it will be a little bit like the action movies where there's a big meeting, normally at the White House, because obviously no other country has any sort of organised politics or government. All the phones go off at the same time and everybody rushes around doing stuff or in different directions. So I would imagine it's going to be something like that. There's going to be lots of beeping. But I mostly have my phone on silent, so I'm not sure what's going to happen there.
I think it overrides it because there's certain settings where you can allow it to override.
Okay. I mean, you can turn the whole thing off, can't you? The whole
if you want to.
Emergency thing. But it does seem like a rather sensible thing to have.
Definitely. Imagine how much easier it would have been with the time that we don't talk about if you literally got a text message to say you're in an area where you're allowed to do this, this and this.
Yeah, the problem is, though, how do you determine that? Because you, for example, were very close to an area that was had free movement, but you were actually in an area that didn't. So you'd have to know very precisely where you were.
Well, surely it would do, wouldn't it? With I
don't know how precise it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it's... I'm not sure it's that precise, because it would need to know... You'd need to triangulate your position from cell towers, which may or may not be possible.
Yes.
You would need to be in contact with more than one, preferably 3, I think. Anyway, it's beside the point, because if this ever happens again, nobody's going to take a blind bit of notice of the government. So.
Yes. True that.
Anyway, the whole alerting thing has really brought out the conspiracy theorists.
Oh, I love it.
And it reminded me of that boat trip we had in Rhodes a few years back, where we had a week in Greece, or a week in Rhodes. And it was just before the season got started. And Wife of Grumpy and I went down to the marina looking for a boat we could hire for the day with a skipper. And we found this bloke, and he was great. And he came out with a figure so astonishingly low that we booked it on the spot. And he was great. Yes. And he was great. Boat was great. Did a lovely lunch. But on the way back, he'd obviously had a touch of something, because he was coming out with all these very weird conspiracy theories. I mean, really. And the problem is, you're in a boat in the middle of the Mediterranean. You have nowhere to go. There's no escape from this. Yeah, well, yes, exactly. Wife of Grumpy did her usual thing and just left me to it. And just disappeared off somewhere.
Sat on the back of the boat with me.
I'm not going anywhere near him. Lovely chap. He kept calling Wife of Grumpy Lady, didn't he?
Lady.
Look, lady. But he did remind me of that and some of it. It'll be interesting to see what comes of it. Now, we're going to have a wedding special in the next episode.
Dun, dun, dun.
However, I do have one piece of clothing yet to buy, which is coming tomorrow, which is a pair of shoes. I do own shoes,
yes.
But I thought I'd splash out and buy some new ones. And
what do they look like?
I've got them yet, coming tomorrow.
Yeah, but you've picked them online, I assume, so you know what they look like.
Yes. They're black Oxford shoes.
Oh, nice.
Yes, fancy. Very nice, from a well-known high street retailer.
Oh.
Yes. And not Lidl.
The place you got your slippers from?
No, but that's interesting, because Wife of Grumpy went into organisation mode, and I'm not overly keen on buying shoes online because I've got wide-ish feet. So I was going to go to the named, or not named, high street store that may have 2 names in it, in Guildford.
Oh, I think...
Marks and Spencer's.
Oh, right, that one.
And because they do wide-fitting ones. I thought, well, I'll go there, I could try them on. And then I thought about it. I thought, well, actually, if I get them sent to me, I can try them on, and if they don't fit, I can go in there, take them back, and find another pair. But I think they'll be okay. Anyway, so a couple of weeks ago, Wife of Grumpy went into organisation mode, and she said, right, I'm going to order you some shoes. I go, well, no, I was going to go in and get them. No, I'm going to do it online. So she said, I found these. They're Clark's, which is where my expensive slippers came from. Yeah. And she said, right, I'm going to order these. I thought, well, hang on, let's have a quick look. Look at the review. And there's several on there were saying, shoes are great, but they squeak as you walk. And I thought, that would be horrendous.
My really lovely R song that I've taken ages to pick. I was walking down just going...
Yeah, either sounding like a duck or the noise from The Shining. I mean, it would be horrendous. So that was a very lucky escape.
No,
I don't know how you make and sell a shoe that squeaks.
No,
that is crazy.
That is crazy. They obviously don't try their shoes on before they. Make them.
I don't know. Maybe it's a manufacturing thing. Maybe it's a particular foot shape. But I've had trouble in the past with Clark's shoes. And they got a bit shirty about a pair of boots that Wife of Grumpy bought that she wore in the snow. And the leather went all swelled up. Oh. Which they said was, well, they're a fashion boot. They're not a...
Not a wearing boot.
Not a wearing boot. They did replace them in the end. Yes, I think quality possibly has gone downhill a little bit since the 70s. So, have you got a top tip for us?
I do, yes. And I said it to myself out loud earlier, and then I thought to myself, I think I may have given this as a top tip last year.
You possibly did. You have been known.
to be a
recycle
top tip
them.
repeater.
Yeah.
But it happened to me at the weekend, and I was like, "Oh, that'll be a good top tip." Or when I say it happened to me, I panicked when it happened, when I thought it happened, and I thought, "You know what, that'll be a good top tip." So I'm going to do it. And if you think I've already done it, then let
Tough.
me know. Yeah. So we were Easter Sunday having a lovely barbecue outside because the weather was absolutely glorious. I was wearing jeans and a long sleeve shirt. So I was like, I'll be fine in the sun because I'm fully covered everywhere. However, it only came to my realisation at about 2:30, after I'd been sat in the sun since 12, that I had a V neckline on the shirt and I wasn't wearing sun cream because I had already told
there's a
myself,
surprise.
well, yeah, and that I was fully covered, and then went into absolute panic mode that my dress, without giving too much away, you would see if I had a V tan line on my dress. So panicked. So if you're getting married, I don't know how many female listeners that are getting married we have listening to us, wear sun cream every day. Just wear it every day. All day, every day. Night time. You never know. Just wear it.
Not sure about that one. That seems very expensive, and
I thankfully got away with it.
Yeah. Yes, I got a slightly burnt forehead from a South Coast cruise we did on Saturday.
Yes, I managed not to be burnt by any. I'm not burnt or weirdly tanned anywhere. So I did manage to get away with the V. But I panicked.
Well, I don't think there's much chance of any more sun between now and wedding day.
No, and the forecast I've now been sent is it's raining the day before and raining the day after, but not raining on the day.
Sun shines on the righteous.
So it's going to rain.
No, certainly not. I've got a very short fun fact that really made me smile this.
Oh, go on then.
Yes. So we know the top and bottom of the world is called the Arctic and the Antarctica.
Yes.
And Arctic means bears, and Antarctica means no bears. Literal translation, I think, is Greek. Arctic bears, Antarctic no bears, which is a great way to identify places.
And an island. No bears on this one?
Yeah.
Oh, no, the other way around. No bears on this one, bears on this one.
Yep.
Is there no bears on the bottom one because they fall off the earth? Because they're at the bottom.
Yes. Well, the Earth's flat, so I don't know how that works.
Well, there's no bottom then, is there, if it's flat?
Well, there must
Well,
be
there is a
something.
bottom.
Yes. That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
You can help spread Lippy and Grumpy's view on life by leaving a review on your favourite podcast platform.
If you're not sure how to leave a review, or if you download from Spotify, there's some help at lippyandgrumpy.uk/review.
And if you would like to get in touch, email podcast@lippyandgrumpy.uk.
So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Bye.